Welcome to another unit in the Introduction to Python Programming Language. In this unit, you will learn conditional statements, loops, functions, and packages in Python. In the conditional statement, you will learn how to make decisions in Python. For example, while working in Python, you may want to make certain decisions. For example, if x is equal to 2, then you may want to multiply x by 4. Otherwise, you will subtract 2 from x. As you can see, you only multiply 4 with x whenever x is equal to 2. And if that condition is not true, then you will subtract 2 from x. As you can see, we are using if and else statements. So in this session, you will learn how to make use of if, elif, and else statement in Python. Here is the single code of if-else statement. As you can see, whenever the expression is true, then a particular statement or action will be executed. Otherwise, if the expression is false, then another statement will be executed. The format of if-else statement in Python is this. As you can see, we are using if and else. So if an expression is true, then this statement 1 will be executed. And if this expression is false, then statement 2 will then be executed. The if-else statement always evaluates the statement 1 whenever this expression is true. Otherwise, this statement 2 will be executed. When you are using if-else statement, you must mind this indentation. As you can see, this indentation, there is an indentation here. You see that if begins in this line, then statement 1 has some extra spaces. The same thing with the body of statement under the else. So it also has indentation, as you can see. You will see how we will use this when we get to the lab session. Whenever you are making use of if-else, you also must make sure that there is a colon. As you can see, a colon in the body of if, and also a colon in the else statement or syntax. In the if-else statement, we'll be making use of different comparison operators such as double equality sign, not equal to, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. Also, when the scenario is getting more complicated, we will also be making use of what is called logical operators, where we'll be making use of and, or, and not operator. Remember, in the previous section, you've learned about comparison operators and also the logical operators. So let's go to the lab session. To follow along, you need to go to this folder on your desktop, then look for conditional statement Jupyter Lab notebook. In order to see my screen clearly, I will close this folder so that only my script is shown. As I said before, we'll be learning if and else statement. This is the format of if-else statement. As you can see, if expression with a colon, then if that is true, this statement will be executed, and if this expression is false, then this statement 2 will be executed. We have to follow the guideline of the if-else statement. The first guideline is that there should be a colon in the if expression and the else expression. Also, there must be an indentation in the statement. As you can see, after this if expression, then there are some extra spaces here. Although Jupyter Lab Notebook will automatically do that for you. So let's see how we can make use of if-else statement in Python. In this example 1, I have x to be 10 and I have y to be 22. So I want to test this expression. The first expression is if x is less than y. As you can see, x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 22. So we are saying that if 10 is less than 22, then print this. Otherwise, print this. In my if-else statement, you will see that I have a colon after this if-else. After this if, there is a colon here. Then there is an indentation, that is extra spaces, in this body of if statement. This is the body of if statement. There should be an indentation, okay, and also in the body of else statement, there must be indentation. Otherwise, Python will throw an error. So in example 1, if x is less than 1, this expression will only be printed. Otherwise, this expression will be printed. As you can see, x is equal to 10. Of course, 10 is less than 22. So therefore, since this expression is true, only this statement will be printed and not this. So let's run it. Now, as you can see, it only printed x is less than y, which is this one. So now let me change it again and see what will happen. Let me change x to be 25. For example, x to be 25. Now you can see that 25 is not less than 22. Since this expression is false, then only the statement in the else will be printed for us. So let me run it and you see what will happen. Now Python is saying x is greater than y because, as you can see, 25 is greater than 22. Let's see another example. In this example, I have x to be 10, x is a variable, y10 is a value. So we have stored the value of 10 into x. As you can see, y is also equal to 22. So now I have my if expression. So as you can see, after if, I put a space there and I have a parenthesis, as you can see, where I put my conditional statement inside. Remember in the slide, I said that we will make use of comparison operators, and we have seen different comparison operators such as double equality, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So here now I have this condition. Here is a condition, x less than y. So remember in the previous section, we've learned about string formatting where we're making use of f string. So here I have what is called string interpolation. So I say that if x is less than y, then print this. So you will note that this is an f string, and then whatever x is will be replaced in this placeholder, and whatever y is will be replaced in this placeholder. So therefore, if x is less than y, then this expression will be executed. This action will be executed. Otherwise, this expression will be executed. So now, if I run this now, see what happens. So here, Python is only printing the first statement, which is this. And the reason is because x is less than y. As you know, 10 is less than 22. And that is why this expression was executed. And what Python is doing in this place is that it's replacing this 10 with this placeholder. Remember, you know that before. Whenever you are making use of f string, then whatever is in this curly bracket will be replaced by that value of the variable. So let's see another example. In this example, we are also making use of if-else statement. And this if-else statement checks whether a given variable is an even number or an odd number. That is, this if-else statement is checking whether the number is an even number or an odd number. As you know, to know whether a number is an even number, then such a number must be divisible by 2. So that is, the remainder when you divide that number by 2 should be 0. And that is what we are having here. So this one helps us to check whether a given number is an even or odd. So here we are making use of modulus. So if x modulus 2 is 0, then that number is an even number. Otherwise, which means that if this is not true, then that number will be an odd number. As you know, let me open another cell. First of all, let's check this expression, x modulus 2. Run it, see what happens. The result is 1. And this is telling you that if the result is 0, then that number is an even number. And as you can see, since this expression is resulting to 1, which means that this is not true. Otherwise, this expression will then be printed. So now let me run it and see what happens. As you can see, the body of else statement was executed because this expression is no longer true, since 7 is not an even number, and that is why this is printed. Let's see another example. In this example, we want to make use of if-else statement to check whether a given number is an odd number or an even number. The difference between example 3 and example 4 is that this example 3 already has its own number, and we therefore checking that number for even or odd. But in this example 4, we'll be asking for our user to enter any number of his or her choice. Then our if-else statement will now check that number for even or odd using if-else statement. Remember, in the previous section, we learned a function called input, which helps us to take information from the user. And as you know, whenever you are making use of input function, whatever you receive from input will always be a string. And since you cannot get a modulus of a string, we have to convert that string that we have obtained to either a float or an integer. And that is what this is doing. So which means that the input function will help us to ask for a number in which our user is going to enter in. And whatever we get from that, then this int function will help us to convert it to an integer. And the result will be stored into x as our variable. And then we'll now be making use of this x that we have stored our value into. Now, we are now saying that if x modulus 2 is equal to 0, as you can see, we can't make use of one equality except double equality sign, because double equality sign is to check comparison, while a single equality sign is to store a value into our variable. So therefore, if x modulus 2 is equal to 0, then this will be printed, which is the number you entered is an even number. Otherwise, then the body of else statement will then be executed. In this case, we'll be having the number you entered is an odd number. So let's see. So now it's asking me to enter any number to check for odd or even. Can you suggest any number for me? Okay, 7, right? 7. So when I press Ctrl Enter, see what happens. It's telling me that the number you entered is an odd number. Since 7 is an odd number, then this expression is executed. Now let me run it again. In this case, I'll be using an even number. For example, let me use 10. And let me run this. You will notice that the first expression was executed, which is the number you entered is an even number. Since 10 is an even number, then this expression is then executed. Now let me tell you one thing about if-else statement. Your condition will be in the if. As you can see, this is our condition and is only under the if statement. So it is when this condition is not true that the body of the else statement will be executed. Now, as you can see, I only say if x modulus 2 equal to 0. I did not repeat this in this else statement. No, it's only under the if statement that you will put your conditional statement to. This conditional statement is your expression that you want to test. Let's see another example where we call game of guess. So in this game, I want to ask my friend whether he or she can guess my ATM password correctly. So if my friend can guess my ATM password correctly, then this should be printed. As you can see, it will be saying password correct. Otherwise, if my friend could not get my password correctly, then this will be printed, which is the password you entered is not correct. So let's see. So I've already saved a variable called saved password. In that, I put the value 1519 because that is my ATM password. Please don't try it. Don't try it. All right. So now I'm checking this. Here, I'm asking my friend to guess my number. As you know, the input function, we only have a string as its data type. And that is why I'm converting whatever I get into an integer. Although you can do the two together here, but I want to make it simpler for you. Remember in the previous example, I put all of them together. And in this example now, I'm doing it separately so that, the scenario is simpler and you can easily understand it. Okay, so now it's just the same thing. So this will only convert my string data type into an integer. Now, as you can see, let me run it so that you can see clearly. Now, guess my ATM for me. Let's say you say 1960 is my ATM password. As you know, my password is 1519, and that is what this will check. It's a comparison, as you can see, double equality, to check whether 1519 is the same thing as 1960. If that is true, then it will return password correct, and if that is false, it will return password you enter is not correct. So let me run it now. What do you think will happen? Password is not correct. Okay, let me try it. Yeah, you get it. So now, as you can see, we only have password you enter is not correct. Reason is that this expression is not true, since 1519 is not the same thing as 1960. And that is why the body of else statement, which is this, got printed. You are welcome back. In the previous video, we learned different scenarios at which we can use if-else statement. We shall continue from where we stopped. In this example, we want to use both comparison operator and logical operator. For example, we have these three variables, A, B, and C. As you can see, A is equal to 10, B is equal to 13, and C is equal to 16. So we want to test this expression. Here we are saying that if A is greater than B and C is greater than A, then print this. Otherwise, print this. Let me remind you of what you have learned in the logical operator. Remember that we have three different logical operators, such as and, or, and not operator. In the and operator, we said that and operator will only return true as output whenever the two conditions are true. That is, each of the two conditions is true. Here we have one condition, that is A greater than B, and we have another condition, that is C is greater than A. So if this one is true and this one is true, then this expression will be executed. Otherwise, this will be executed. So let's see it. Let me open another cell to test each of these expressions. Here we have A. Let me run this. I know the answer, but let's do it one by one. Now let's say A is less than B. See the answer? The answer is false. So which means that this condition is false. So let's see another condition, which is C greater than A. C greater than A. So if I run this, see what happens. The result is true. And now we are saying that the AND operator, which separates the two conditions, will only return true if both conditions are true. As you can see, only this expression is true. Therefore, when you combine this condition and this condition together, then the result will be false. In this case, let's see. Let me create another cell and say A greater than B, A greater than B, and C greater than A. See what happens? The result is false. Since this expression is returning false, therefore, the body of else statement is what will be executed. And that is why when I run this is what is printed. One of the conditions is true. Now let's see the reverse case of this. In example 7, we'll be using OR operator. Remember, the OR operator will only return true whenever either of the two conditions is true. That is, if one of the conditions is just true, then the OR operator will return true as its output. So let me run this. I know the answer already, but let's test it one by one. Here, I will say A greater than B. As you know, the answer is false. So let me open another cell. Let's say C greater than A. The answer is true. As you can see, only one of these expressions is true. So now let's combine the two conditions together with OR operator. So you just say A less than B or C greater than A. Now see the result. The result is true. So therefore, since this result is true, then this will be printed. And that is why it's saying that one of the conditions is true. So that is how to use a logical operator in the body of if-else statement. Before we move to if, elif, and else statement, let's see the last example for if-else statement. So in this case, I will be having a scenario whereby you want to transfer a particular amount, but the money you have in your bank account is not enough. So let's see an example. In this case, I will be having amount, that's a variable, amount in bank, which is, let's say I have 500 Rwanda franc in bank. Now, let's say I want to transfer this. Transfer amount is 600. Imagine I have 500 Rwanda franc in my bank and I want to transfer 600 Rwanda franc to my friend. As you know, this is not possible, but let's see how we can use that scenario. So in this case, I will be saying if amount in bank is greater than transfer amount. Okay, remember this is if-else statement. So when you are using if state, let me create more cells. When you are using if, you have to put a colon. Now we are saying if amount in bank is greater than transfer amount, what will be executed? And I want to say print transfer successful. transfer successful. So which means that the amount will be transferred successfully. Remember when I said that when you are using if statement, there must be an indentation. So Jupyter Lab Notebook has already done that one for you. Okay. Now in the body of else statement, we have to press backspace because it must be where the if starts. So therefore I have to say else, then else must also have a colon because the if has colon. As you can see, there's a colon here, and then I press enter. So automatically it will create an indentation for me. In that case, I want to print transfer failed. The transfer will fail because the amount I have in bank is greater than the amount I have in bank is less than the amount I want to transfer. That is why this transaction will fail. So I just want to print transfer fail. No enough fund. Alright. So now let's see what will happen when we run this. You see that the transfer failed got printed. Reason is that this condition is not true, and that is why the body of else statement is executed. I want to tell you that there is a pitfall when you are using if-else statement, and those pitfalls are: number one is you must put a colon whenever you are done with the if, and whenever you are done with else here, you must put a colon, and also there must be an indentation, and also there must be an indentation in the body of your if statement, and also in the body of your else statement there must be an indentation, although Jupyter Lab Notebook will help you to do that. Welcome to another section where we'll be treating if, elif, and else statements. If you look at the different scenarios that we have been using since morning, you will know that we only have just two conditions. If one is not true, then another one will be true. But in this if, elif, and else statement, we want to consider many scenarios, many conditions. We want to test many conditions. And let's see how we can work with if, elif, and else statements. Look at this example where we have many conditions. The first condition is this one. The second condition is this one. The third condition is this one. And if all those conditions are not true, then the last condition will be true and it will be printed. First of all, the if statement will first of all be executed. If that is not true, then this elif will be executed. If that one is not true, then another condition in the elif will be executed. And if all the conditions are not true, then our last else will be executed. The elif in this place are just to try another condition. Try this, try that, try this, try that. And if all those trials are not satisfied, then just end it by printing this. So that is how if, elif, else statements are working. So let's see it. Here we have a variable called x is equal to 2. And we have another variable called y is equal to 6. Now we are checking if x is equal to y, that is, if x and y are equal, then print this. First condition is true. If that condition is not true, then try this. As you can see, we have elif. That is, try this again. So try x is greater than y. If that is true, print the second statement. Again, if that is not true, then try this last condition. As you can see, we are having three conditions. This is the first one. This is the second one. As you can see, we are using different comparison operators such as double equality, greater than, and another double equality. So we try this. If this is not true, then try this. So if none of this is true, then just say none of the above conditions are true. So let me run this and let's try it one by one. As you can see, Python is only printing the body of else statement. So why? Now let's see. As you can see, 2 and 6 are not the same. That is why this will not be printed. Now let's try this again. X greater than y. As you can see, 2 is not greater than 6. That is why this will not be printed. Now let's try this. Is 2 and 11 the same? No. And that is why this will not be printed. Since none of this is true, and that is why the last one here in the body of else statement will be executed. As you can see, none of the above conditions are true. Let's try another example. In this example, I have this. I'm trying if x is the same thing as y, that is, if x and y are not the same, print this. Then I try another condition again with the help of elif statement. Y is greater than x. As you can see, 6 is greater than 2. And that is why this will be printed. So let's run it. Second condition is true because y is greater than x. 6 is greater than 2. That is why this will be printed. As you know, the first statement here will not be printed. The third statement here will not be printed. And also the last statement here will not be printed. Only the second statement will be printed. I believe we are now getting to know how to work with if and elif and else statement. As you know, the if-else statement is testing only one condition. If that is not true, then the body of else statement will be executed. The if, elif, and else statement test many conditions. If one is not true, try this. If that is not true, try this. If you have tried everything, then just print this. So that is how if, elif, and else statement works. Let's see this other example. In this other example, it's a scenario for bank transfer experience. Look at it. Amount in bank is 600 Rwanda franc. If you are in Kenya, you can imagine it as Kenya shilling. If you are in Somalia, use your own currency. If you are in South Sudan, use your own currency as well. But since I'm in Rwanda currently, I will be using Rwanda franc. Imagine I have 600 Rwanda franc in my bank and I want to transfer 500 Rwanda franc. So now I'm testing this scenario. So in the if statement, if you like, you can put parentheses in the body of your condition, although it's not a must. Okay, but let me just ignore it. Okay, so I have this statement in the body of if. If amount in bank is greater than the amount I want to transfer, just say transfer successful. Try this again. If amount in bank is equal to the amount I want to transfer, just print this. Transfer successful. Remember to add more fund next time. Then if all these conditions are not true, just print this, which is transfer failed, not enough funds. If I may ask you, which of these will get executed? Transfer successful. So let's run it. As you can see, this is printed, transfer successful. Reason is that the expression or the condition in the body of if statement is true, since I have 600 Rwanda franc in my bank and I want to transfer just 500 Rwanda franc. As you know, that transfer will be successful because the amount I have in the bank is more than the amount I want to transfer, and that is why this got printed. Let me give you another example. In this case, I will be having what I title sports experience. I know some of you do sporting experience. Okay, now let's say that Kenya is having a football with South Sudan. Let's say the point of Kenya is 10 and the point of South Sudan, South, remember here is a variable, there shouldn't be a space or an hyphen or any special character in variable name. So in this case, I just say South Sudan. I put underscore there. Now, South Sudan is having 12 points. So South Sudan is currently leading Kenya for now. And now let's say another country called Ethiopia. So let's say Ethiopia is having 12. Ethiopia is having 9 points. So now I want to try different if-elif-else statements using this scenario. So let's say if Kenya, okay, is having more points more than Ethiopia, all right, remember you have to put colon there, enter, press enter button on your keyboard and just say print this. So I want to print it that Kenya is having more points than Ethiopia. That's my first condition. Okay, then I want to try I want to try another condition. Here I will be using elif. Now in this case, I want to compare South Sudan. Let's say South Sudan is having the same point with Ethiopia. Now let's say South Sudan is having the same point with Ethiopia. So in this case, I'll just say print South Sudan and Ethiopia. Since all these are strings, I have to put it in quotation. Remember, South Sudan and Ethiopia are having the same point currently. Okay? Now let's say if all these are not true, if none of this is true, then I just want to do this. Else. Okay? And I put my statement there. Spectator needs to watch another game. That is what I want to put in my else statement. Remember, as I said before, the if and elif statement will be where you will put your conditions. There should not be any expression or statement or condition in the else statement. That is why, as you can see, there is no condition in this. I only put statement there. Now let me run this and see what will happen. As you can see, Kenya is having more points than Ethiopia got printed. Can you tell me why? Reason is because Kenya is having 10 points and Ethiopia is having 9 points. Since Kenya is leading Ethiopia, and that is what this one is saying, that Kenya is greater than Ethiopia in terms of points. And that is why this got printed. As you know, this is programming scenarios. And we are making use of different conditional statements, such as if and else statement, and also if, elif, and else statement. You can understand this thing better by creating different examples on your own using if, elif, and else statement. It is by doing you get to know more. Thank you so much for watching this video and see you in the next video. Bye.